Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to another session on Indian Economy Essentials. And in today's session, let's have a discussion regarding the concept of off-budget borrowings that was there in the newspaper very recently. That is, if you look at the article that was published in the central page in the Hindu, any edition for that matter, you will come across an article discussing off-budget borrowings, a state-wise look. For UPSC Civil Services examination, you do not have to be worried about what is the actual off-budget borrowings or the total liabilities of the center, state, etc. Do not worry, from one year to next year, the data will keep on changing. But the concept of off-budget becomes very relevant either for civil service examination at the state level or the central level. Now, let's try and understand the concept of off-budget borrowings. I'll start using the short form here, OBB. Do not be confused whenever I use the term OBB henceforth. Now, let's say hypothetically, here is the government. Sir, which government? Are you talking about the state government or the central government? Because the article is talking about the state governments. You don't worry. It could be a state government. It could be a union government as well. Don't worry. Here is the government. Government will go through the budgetary process, and I'm pretty sure all of you know what you mean by budgetary process now. The government will introduce bills in the parliament, get it approved, etc. We'll go through a budgetary process, will withdraw the money from Consolidated Fund of India and use it for expenditure purposes. Spend it. Now this expenditure could be for creation of assets. It could be for revenue expenditure as well. Don't worry. But rather than this, what if I say that government will spend the money in the market, will incur the expenditure in the market, but not through the first process. I'll write this as number one. Not through the budgetary process, rather using another process will incur expenditure. Now some of you will say, how is that possible, sir? Because the article in the constitution says that if Government of India wants to withdraw money from the Consolidated Fund of India, they should get the approval from the parliament. How is that possible that government will spend money without taking the money from CFI? How is that possible? That basically is referred to as off-budget borrowings. Let me explain to you. Imagine the Government of India wants to allocate, let's say, 1,000 crore rupees for food subsidies. Just a simple number. For food subsidies. Out of the budget, let's say they've allocated 600 crore rupees. But the remaining 400 crore is a shortfall here. Which means Food Corporation of India will not be able to implement the food subsidy or let's say food programs without having 1,000 crore rupees. They need that much amount of money. But government has simply allocated 600 crore in the budget. They are still to get under 400 crore rupees. Now what will the FCI do? Food Corporation of India will basically borrow this remaining 400 crore rupees from the market such as National Small Savings Fund, NSSF. I repeat, the Food Corporation of India will borrow this 400 crore rupees from NSSF, National Small Savings Fund, and use this 400 crore rupees to incur as an expenditure, thereby ensuring that the total amount of expenditure and foods under food subsidy will be 1,000 crore rupees. Now some of you might be asking, sir, is it just related to FCI? Are there any agencies which follow this? Of course, yes. It is done at the central government level, done at the even state government level. Whenever there are certain state government agencies or central government agencies or public sector enterprises, etc., they are falling short of the money that they are supposed to incur in the form of expenditures, they generally take the route of off-budget borrowings. This is basically the concept of off-budget. Because we do not use the budgetary process, it is called as off-budget borrowings. Is it done at center? Yes. Is it done at the states? Of course, yes. But very important point to note here is, follow this carefully. Whenever the state government or central government will talk about the fiscal deficit, please remember this. whenever they talk about fiscal deficit, what is a fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit represents borrowings of the government. It could be of the central government or the state government. It represents what? Borrowings of the government. So whenever the center or state talk about fiscal deficit, that's a borrowings, the off-budget borrowings are not included. I repeat, whenever the center or the state talk about the fiscal deficit, the off-budget borrowings are not included. They are not accounted into whenever they calculate fiscal deficit. Now, what is the concern related to that? Concern is very simple. If government, either union or the state, borrows heavily from the market through off-budget, don't you think it simply means the liability of that state or union will be very, very high? But that is not reflected in the fiscal deficit of the government, thereby not providing a complete or accurate or transparent information about the finances of the government to the market, or let's say to the people of the state or the India. Now, this same reason was echoed along with one more very important reason by various government agencies such as Comptroller, Auditor General also. The argument that has been put forward is, if they keep on borrowing through off-budget borrowings like this, they will fall into a debt trap. They'll simply fall into a debt trap. What is the basic idea of a debt trap here? You keep on borrowing, spending money, but you will keep on borrowing in the future to repay the debt. And the debt will keep on mounting, that will keep on increasing over a period of time. You will not be able to come out of the debt itself. So there is a concern that the states which are following the off-budget borrowing, they are falling into a debt or a debt trap like this. Now you will ask me, sir, why? Why is that the states are falling into a debt trap? Why are they simply going for off-budget borrowings? States are wrong, etc., etc. Now here is a very important another point to note. The state governments are accusing the central government that by implementing a lot of cesses and surcharges, the center is denying the amount of tax revenues that the states are supposed to get. What do you mean by this? The finance commissions, respective finance commissions, provide vertical devolution as well as horizontal devolution formula. And whenever the central government will impose and collect taxes, like this, these taxes are put in central divisible pool, and the central divisible pool is divided between the central government or the union government as well as the state governments based on the recommendation of Finance Commission. For example, the 15th Finance Commission says the devolution has to be 41%. 41% has to go to states, remaining 59% has to go to the central government. But one very important point here is that whenever the center will impose the cesses and surcharges, these are not added to the divisible pool of taxes. Simple. The center imposes and collects the cesses and surcharges. There is no compulsion on the center to distribute it with the states also. And that's a precise reason the accusation or the allegation of many of the states is that central government, by increasing or by imposing more and more the cesses and surcharges, is snatching away, it is taking away the powers of the state governments from collecting more and more tax revenues. Now some of you ask, sir, how is that possible? I'll take a very simple idea here. Do not worry about the calculation. Imagine here is a product. The tax rate on this, let's say, is 10%. Now, one way to increase the tax rate, again, when I say product, do not literally imagine GST, etc. Just generalize it. One way to increase this from 10% to 15% is the tax rate itself will be increased. And whatever taxes are collected will be part of divisible pool. Another way is, I'll keep the tax rate at 10%, but I'll impose, let's say, cesses, thereby taking the tax rate to 15%. But don't you think these cesses now will go to the central government, not into the divisible pool? So there is this concern that has been raised by various states that the central government is using the cesses and surcharges policy in order to ramp up their tax receipts, but state governments are suffering. Point one. Point number two. Why are they, again one more reason, why are they basically going for off-budget borrowings here? The reason is that as per Constitution of India, whenever any state has borrowings from the center, that is states borrow from the center, if they have a debt of the center like this, if they want to borrow more from the market, then they are supposed to take the permission of the central government or the union government. Now the borrowing limits are fixed by the center. Earlier, during the pandemic, the borrowing limits were increased for the states to 5%. Later, it has been reduced, and for the current financial year and next financial year, it has been decided to keep it at 3.5%, which means there is a limitation on how much even the states are allowed to borrow because the limits are fixed by the central government. Now, this various state governments or the finance ministers of various state governments say that has forced them not to borrow through conventional route during the budget, rather adopt for off-budget borrowings, which is an unconventional methodology. So these are certain very important concepts related to the article of off-budget borrowings which has appeared in a Hindu on 16th February 2023. If you like this initiative, please hit the like button, provide your valuable comments in the section below, and if you are yet to subscribe to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS, kindly do it now. Thank you. Have a great day.